I wonder if maybe this particular moment, this particular day in Jesus' life, was one of the most disappointing moments he had ever faced. You look at it, he had been teaching, and for the last two parables in a row, the parable we read yesterday, the parable we read the day before that, he ended both of those parables with the words, the last shall be first, the first shall be last. Both parables ended with those words. Then, in today's gospel reading, he spoke to the disciples and warned them what was about to come. So we're going to go to Jerusalem, and it is not going to be a happy trip. They're going to kill me. They're going to abuse me. They're going to deliver me to Gentiles, mock me, scourge me, crucify me. I'll be condemned to death. That's what's going to happen on this trip. That's what awaits me. And I imagine he thought they were getting him. That's his, he would have every right to expect, if he's been teaching these things over and over, they would begin to get it eventually. And so this day, here comes Peter and John, represented by their mother, and say, Jesus, we've been listening to what you've been preaching, we've been taking it to heart, and we're going to put it into action today. And I'm sure he went, yes, finally. Lord, you've been telling us, ask and you shall receive. Seek and you shall find. Knock and the door shall be open to you. So we're just going to come out and say it. What we are seeking, what we want, what we're asking you, make us number one. How could his heart not break when he heard that? They did kind of like we do sometimes. They take the words we want to hear from the Lord and wave them up here, and we kind of forget the whole counsel of God. I can imagine Jesus going, oh, he did. I don't imagine. It says here. He said, didn't you hear what I just said? Can you drink the cup? Can you be crucified? Can you face torture? Can you be handed over to the chief priests? Because that's the last thing he told them before this happened. They went, sure, Lord, we can. They had no idea what they were talking about. I'm sure the mother did. What mother would go to someone and say, Lord, please give my children positions where they'll die? Abby, would you do that? You're the only mother I see here. Any of you fathers, would you say, take my son and put him in a place where he'll be killed? That's not the heart of a father. Obviously, they didn't get it. They were hearing, but they weren't hearing. And Jesus also said, I told you two parables in a row. If you want to be first, then you have to be last. That you're operating in the way of the Gentiles. You're using manipulation. You're using schemes. You're using your mother, for crying out loud. That's not the way it works in my kingdom. Because when he said the first shall be last and the last shall be first, what he means is you put yourself in that first place or in that last place. It's not something that, is happening here where the Lord asking him to do it for you. If you're saying, I want to be first, so I'm going to work things out so I will be first. The Christian way, the way of Christ is, put yourself last. In other words, put yourself as a servant of all. And that's what he went on to explain. The Gentiles, they make themselves great by putting themselves first, by manipulating situations and making kowtow to those who are in charge so they'll have favor with them. Kind of like what you're doing now, guys. So that's not the way it works in my kingdom. In my kingdom, you put yourself last. And then you forget about it. You don't put yourself last saying, now if I do this for 6.3 days, then the Lord will put me first. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, He will raise you up. Yes, I claim that. Put that out of your mind. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord, period. Exclamation point. What's the matter? Let Him take the rest. Because we come into His kingdom as servants. That's what He's talking about. That's what He was talking about the two parables before. That's what He was talking about when He was telling them about His death. He's saying, I'm going to go and I'm going to make myself a servant to you to the point of death. See, and then He talks on in the last part, whoever wishes to be first among you shall be your slave. Interesting thing about slavery. For thousands of years, culture accepted slavery. Only in the last few centuries has slavery become frowned upon almost universally. Still a few places where it's practiced. But you cannot make someone your slave. In the culture before, if you captured someone in battle, you could take them as their slave. Physically, they'd be your slave, but their hearts would not be yours. Or in other situations, you could buy someone. If you bought them, they were your property. They were your slave. You might could buy their bodies. You might could buy their time. You might could buy their beauty. But you could never buy their heart. You can't buy someone's heart. You can only win it with love. It's the only way you'll ever get anyone's heart. And what the Lord was saying was, if you want to be people's slaves, be people's servants, it has to be because I have bought your heart with my love, with my blood. And you as a slave must have that same love. You as a slave must have that same heart. Why in Deuteronomy it talked about how if there's every 7 years they released all their slaves, all their servants. But if there was one who had given his heart to his master to the point where he said, I don't want to leave. I've given you my heart and I want it to remain yours. That slave could truly undergo a ritual, and the mark would be put on the lobe of his ear, and then he would be truly the slave of that man. But it wasn't because he had been bought or because he had indebted himself or anything else. It was because he loved the home he was serving in. He said, I don't want to leave. This is what Jesus was trying to get through to the heads and the spirits of the disciples. And it seemed like the day he got the idea that was given to him, they still just don't get it. But it's something we have to get. It's something we have to understand. We are slaves, not just because we're bought, but because we give our hearts to the Lord. And we give our hearts to our brothers and sisters as their service. They can't take it from us. And it can't be commanded or regulated of us. It's really something that we give. We give out of hearts because we put ourselves in the last place. The rank and file, others can restrict this upon you and inflict this upon you. But in the realm of the spirit, in the realm of the heart is something you have to give. Not in the romantic Valentine's kind of way, but in the servant kind of way. We give our hearts. Nobody can take it from us. It's probably why the song came out, Lord, I give you my heart, I give you my soul. And we're saying, oh, that's ridiculous. God owns everything anyway. We can give him nothing. And I agree with that on a particular level. But when it comes to the level of servanthood, yes, we do have to give our hearts because we're the ones who put ourselves in the lowest place. And we do that by giving not just ourselves under subjection, but ourselves under submission to the love of the Lord and the kingdom of God. That was what Jesus had been trying so hard to get to the disciples. And I don't think they ever really got it until that day they were filled with the Holy Spirit. Because Jesus had promised them in the upper room, bunch of stuff I want to share with you, bunch of stuff I have been sharing with you. You haven't gotten it yet, and you're not able to get it yet. But when He, the Spirit of truth, comes, you'll get it. Why? Because as the Romans 5:5 told us today, the Holy Spirit pours abroad in our hearts the love of God. And when the love of God has been shed abroad in our hearts through the Holy Spirit, that love gives us comprehension. That love gives us understanding. That love gives us discernment. And through that love, we can understand what it truly means to be the servant of God, to be the servant of others. It's when we, of our own will and impelled by the love of God within us, give our hearts, first to the Lord, then to each other. No longer a matter of, I want to be number one. It's, let me help you be the best you can be. That becomes the heart of the believer. That becomes the heart of the true disciple of the Lord. Let us have those hearts today. We have been filled with the Holy Spirit. Has a lot of roles in our lives, a lot of purposes for us. But no purpose is greater than to fill us with love, that we may make ourselves slaves of all.